In this video, I'm going to talk about my method for rust prevention in an uncontrolled climate garage. Usually, these types of garages where it's not heated, it's open to the environment, there's a lot of rapid temperature changes, and this can lead to a lot of condensation on tools. And rust is a tool's worst enemy, so trying to cut down the presence of rust is essential. So the method I used involves using paste wax. This can be bought for very cheap at any hardware store. I think this thing cost me about $7, and I've had it for years. And I'll show you how much I have left. It's about 3/4 worth of having that for years. And I use this on my finishes as well, so it gets a lot of use. So the first thing you want to do when you're trying to minimize rust coming on your tools is preparation before you even get to this stage. Now, here's a good example. I recently bought this block plane at a garage sale, and I trued it up. I flattened the sole, and I did not put any paste wax on it. I forgot about it for a week or two. Come back and let me see if you can get this on camera. So hopefully you saw the surface rust I had on that shot there. I already filmed this because I'm an idiot and it was out of focus, but steel wool works great on surface rust. It took me less than 5 seconds to take that off. If it's a little bit of heavier rust, I'll use sandpaper. Some people will be anal about using sandpaper on the sole of the plane, which I get. If that's the case, you might want to use your flattening stone again to get any rust off. But for other things that don't need to be flat or square, sandpaper works great in getting that off quickly. Once all the rust is off, which is essential, you need to get as much rust as possible off. Any rust that is on there will cause more rust to build up on that site where the rust is. So as much as you get off, the better. Now, I usually take a dedicated sock I got in here and really load this puppy up. Really be liberal with this stuff. You can't, in my opinion, you can't put too much on. On the bottom of the plane, once it hardens, which is usually 20 minutes, you could buff it up with a clean sock, and that'll make it glide right across the wood. It's perfect. I won't go into this video, but you could I usually take everything apart and use something like a toothbrush, and I'll get in all the nook and crannies. Toothbrush works great for things like this, getting into these teeth, really making sure you get in all those nooks and crannies. Like I said, I'm not going to go into the full process. This method works great on saws as well. Wooden tools, I use this on all my wooden tools. Let me look at my idiot sheet here. So one thing I should mention is that if you plan on keeping your tools stowed away for a long period of time, then you will not be using them, you will not be checking up on them. I put a really thick layer of this stuff on. And usually on the parts that aren't touching the wood, I put a really thick coating on either way. But on the sole of the plane especially, I'll put a really thick coating and I won't buff it at all. And this has lasted me up to 3-6 months at a time when I was away at college, and I came back and there was no rust on any of the tools. And in this garage I have, there's a lot of condensation, so this does work. Some people like to use oil. This is a really cheap option, mineral oil. It's not the best, but I don't really like to use that. It gets a little messy. Small tip I have, these silicone gel packets, or silica rather, gel packets. These can be found everywhere, in your shoe boxes, anything you order from online. It comes with these stupid little things. Don't throw them out. They're perfect for putting into your drawers and into your chisel boxes and stuff like that. And supposedly they can be recharged if you put them in the oven. I've never tried it. I've never needed to because these things are everywhere, so I just replace them pretty often. One thing I forgot to mention when I first shot this video is the upkeep. How often should you be reapplying this paste wax? I put a very thick layer on the surfaces that aren't in contact with the wood or my hands and leave it there for months, at a time, and I've never had any issue. For surfaces that are in contact with the wood in your hands, like prime example, the sole of the plane and the sides of the plane were used on the shooting board, I apply it whenever I use them, mostly for lubrication purposes. Like I said earlier, the paste wax is great for gliding across the wood. So I don't really apply it for rust prevention most of the time on these surfaces. I apply it for lubrication purposes, and that acts as a rust prevention. The more you use your tools, the less you have to worry about it. For example, this side of my plane is utilized very often on my shooting board. The other side of the plane I do not use on my shooting board. And this side has no patina, no surface rust. It, from this angle, looks like bare metal. On the other side, it's probably hard to tell on the camera, but there's patina that's grown on there, developed on there, and just by using the shooting board and using this side, I can see the difference that it prevents any oxidation, any rust, and so the more you use your tools, the less you're going to see the rust come up. So, in conclusion, this stuff works great. It's really cheap. It lasts a long time. It's great for garages that are not climate controlled. It tastes great on your food. Other than that, I have nothing good things to say about it. If you want some actual professional advice, I would go to another channel like Paul Sellers or Wood by Right, because they actually know what they're talking about. But for an amateur like myself, if you're in a similar situation that you're not a professional and you just like to do this as a hobby, then this is a great way of rust prevention. Thank you.